Welcome to Monroe MustHangs. I'm your host, David Spiegel. With me today, big-time record breaker from our football team in 2019, helped get the team back to its second bowl game ever. Please welcome former Mustangs quarterback, Dom Shoffner.
Thanks for having me, David.
Pleasure to have you here, Dom. Now, you're a member of the Charlotte 49ers now, after your days playing at Monroe. You were a transfer quarterback with us in 2019, obviously a big season for us. We'll go into it in more detail, but it was one of the better seasons of program history. It's been part of the trend the last few years. Team reached its highest ever ranking in the national rankings. You broke up at least 1 million records. I'm going to actually go down this list right now and talk about where you are on a lot of the record lists. And remember, this was just from one season, but career records. You were tied for first in rushing touchdowns. That was with Clayton Scott, your teammate that year. Also, number one in pass attempts, number one in pass completions, number one in passing yards, number one in passing touchdowns, number two in completion percentage, number two in pass efficiency rating, number two in average yards per pass, number two in average yards per completion, number one in passing yards per game, number one in total offensive yards for a season, for career actually, number one in touchdowns responsible for with 41 total. So that's passing and rushing, and would have been receiving if there were any of those. Number one in total offense per game. Number three in total offense per play. Tied for second in total points scored. That was, again, with Clayton Scott. And number one was Idrissa Nikyema, who was the kicker that year. So he actually benefited from a lot of the touchdowns that you scored. And, of course, number one tied for in total touchdowns, which is combined rushing and receiving. So that was also number 14. And then for single game records, you were number one or two in a lot of these as well. You're tied for number two in rushing touchdowns in a game with 3, which you did twice. Number one in pass attempts with 47 against ASA. Number one in pass completions with 27 against ASA. On that list, you were also number 2, number 5, number 7, and number 10. And it only shows me the top 10 when I look it up. Passing yards, 337. That was number 2 all time. That was against Nassau, which is a ranked team when we played them. Also, you were number 3, 5, 6, 8, and 9 on that list. Tied for first in touchdown passes in a single game. That was 5 at Hocking. You were also number 3 with 4 twice. And you were number 7 with 3 2 different times. So, and there may have been more. Again, it cuts off the top 10. So number 1 in efficiency rating per game in a single game, which was 287.6. I'm not going into the math there. It's a good number. Also number 2, number 4, number 7. Longest completion ever in program history was 93 yards at Hocking to Jevin Frett. And the final one on my list here is number 2 in total offensive yards in a single game, which is 376, again, against Nassau. And on that list, you're also number 4, 5, 8, 9, and 10. So that's a very long list. To go along with that, you were in the top 5 in a lot of categories in the NJCAA in your only year with Monroe as well. Again, just an incredibly impressive year. So now I've done a lot of talking, and I want to hear just your thoughts on a lot of these numbers that you were able to put up that year.
Well, I was so blessed just to get a call from Coach Carr, just to have the opportunity to be at Monroe and get that whole JUCO experience. I loved everything about Monroe. They've got one of the top resources of all JUCO programs there, and I couldn't have got those awards without all the talent I had around me. All the receivers, all the linemen, the great coaches, Coach Carr, he taught me a lot. And it was awesome. We had fun, we worked, and, our work that we put in showed with throughout the games.
One thing I want to hit on quickly, and you quickly mentioned Coach Carr, and I interviewed him a number of weeks ago on this show as well. And one thing we talked about was the evolution at the quarterback position for this team over the last couple of years. It seems that this bar just keeps getting set higher and higher each year, really hitting its peak with your season in 2019. But Coach Carr, having his own career as a quarterback, having played professionally, having coached professional teams, what was it like to learn under him when you were here?
And it was awesome. He taught me a lot. I was always in the film room with him from day one. We created a really good bond relationship outside of football. Got food. And it was awesome. His scheme fit my talent, what I was good with, and he just taught me a lot of knowledge of the game. really great coach.
Yeah, it seems to be the common feeling about Coach Karg is that he really has been, he's a very knowledgeable coach. I love talking to him about football too, just because he sees things in a way that I definitely could not see it. As someone who feels like he knows football pretty well, it's not even close to his knowledge. So he's always a great conversation about football and a really good coaching mind. So I want to discuss with you your JUCO story. Now you have a, not the typical JUCO story, but it's one of those ones that you see where you went somewhere, situation wasn't the best for you, and you started over. You came to a junior college, really made your impact in that 1 year at a junior college, and found yourself somewhere else after that, and somewhere where you're happy. So I want to talk about your football story. Where did you come from before you played in college, and then your story of where you went before Monroe, how you got to Monroe, and then where you went to after that. We'll go into more detail as we go along.
Gotcha. Well, I'm from Raleigh, North Carolina, and I went to Middle Creek High School. I was a 2-year starter on varsity my junior and senior year, and I had a great career there under Coach Ragland. We only lost 2 games out of our whole 2 years for junior and senior year. We went 28-2. So it was a wonderful high school career. I committed to North Carolina Central. I had a great experience there. Coach Mack, who was the original head coach there, who recruited me, I built a great relationship with him. And, I really left North Carolina Central because of the instability once Coach Mack left after that first year that I was there. And he's currently at Rice now. And after every year, it was just a different coaching change, all that. And, I really wanted to go to a place to where I wanted to just play, you know what I mean? I wanted to reach my full potential and go back to the D1 level. I could have chose the D2 route, but I wanted to play. I didn't want to sit out. So, I chose to go JUCO route. I was emailing schools, what JUCO program would fit me, where could I go? And Coach Karg, I sent an email to him. About 5 minutes later, he called me right after I sent that email, and he was ready to roll from day one after I sent the email. And that whole experience, JUCO, it was awesome at Monroe. It's New York, the city's not too far, and the relationships you build with those players, the coaches, like they're real relationships. Everyone comes from different backgrounds, and it was just awesome to experience all of that. I had a great football career there, met great people. And now I'm currently at Charlotte, and just looking forward to keep building that legacy.
I think it's a great story. And you see a lot of big time NFL players right now. A lot of people don't necessarily know that they also went the JUCO route and obviously made a big name for themselves. There are names like Cam Newton and Alvin Kamara, who are still prominent NFL players. Alvin Kamara, obviously still up and coming, even though he's incredibly impressive. That they came through the JUCO ranks, and Cam Newton made his way to Auburn and was a Heisman Trophy winner. So it really goes to show that you really do get a high level of play at the JUCO level, whether it's in the NJCAA, whether it's the CCCAA in California. I know when I first got to Monroe College and saw it for the first time myself, it was incredibly impressive what kind of athletes were coming through here and the athletes that we were competing against as well. What was it that really got Monroe on your radar? Because there are so many nationally ranked programs out there all across the country. So what was it about Monroe that really stood out to you when you first started looking?
Well, I was just looking for a place to play, to really be the guy, show off my talent and just just go to the next level, go to that D1 level that I was looking for. And, Coach Karg, he loved my film. He loved who I was. He talked to me on the phone. He loved my personality, attitude. And, when I got there, it was just, went straight to business day one. I went to his office, watched film. I was like, Coach, I'm ready to roll, all that, the resources at Monroe, they've got a hot tub, it's only one block. It's good. They've got everything. They got a dorm, cafeteria. So I made the best of it, when coaches weren't around, I'd grab receivers, like, let's go throw, let's go anywhere. Let's just go get some work in. And, I just made the best of that. and it was just a great season.
It really was. Like I said, it was a pretty historic season for the Mustangs, coming off the first ever bowl game in program history the year before, the Graphic Edge Bowl in Iowa. That was a great experience for the program. But after losing that first one, I know the team was hungry to get back to another one and really make another impact. And obviously the season went great, and we got to go to Hutchinson Community College and play a bowl game. And we'll get to that because I do want to go through the season. So first, you arrived before the 2019 season. You got here, got comfortable with the team. What was it like, in spring ball and preseason and, working your way towards that first game in 2019?
The spring season, I just wanted to get accustomed with the guys and build that chemistry with the team, get to know them, get to play with them on that skill level. And, that team was really special. Offense, defense, special teams, we were all hungry. We all wanted to win. We all wanted to work. It wasn't just about offers, we just wanted to work and be the best that we can be. And that really showed in the fall. And it was great.
Your first experience on the field with the team in a game, like, regular season game, was against the New Jersey Warriors. It's a team that we play every single year. Typically we open the season and you guys just come out flying. We won 71-0. I don't think you played in the second half of that game, if I remember correctly. So I'm looking at the stats right now, 4 touchdown passes, trying to find your rushing numbers. Let's just say everything was really good. So what was it like just getting that first win under your belt and, basically making a name for yourself right off the bat?
It was awesome. That first game, your mindset is just focused on winning. Take it 1-0 each week. All the guys, we put the work in. We were ready for it. We watched film. We prepared. We practiced great, and the results were shown. And after that first week, it was just a mindset like we can ball. We put up great numbers, and everyone on the team was just ready for each and every week.
I remember before the season started, and actually it was probably in the spring too, I had a conversation with Coach Karg, and he was telling me, you got to see this quarterback we got. He's incredible. He's so athletic, and he's really going to change the game for us. And I remember after that first game, I think it was Monday, we got back in, I talked to Coach Karg, and I was like, everything you told me seemed to be true after this first one. Like, is he going to keep it going this year? And he's like, I don't see any reason why he's going to stop. And again, I looked down the numbers, but I remember this so well. It really it didn't look like it was going to stop at any point. And you guys rolled to 5-0 start. Week 2 was against Nassau Community College, which is basically the most local school we play on the schedule. But they were nationally ranked for that game and throughout the whole season. And you guys beat them 52-27. Again, I remember that game. It was just, it was ours the entire way. So that was your first taste of playing another nationally ranked team. So what was your experience there? And what were the feelings coming out of that one?
That week, Coach Karg emphasized it's a national ranked team for one of the top JUCO programs. And, my mindset is I don't care who we play. We're going to prepare. We're going to practice. We're going to be the same team that we are each and every week. So that was just a great feeling just to get that win. And, we just kept our heads down. We weren't into social media, all that. I told the guys, I tried to keep them up and just keep believing, just keep working. And, a lot of guys are always worried about offers, all that. Like, that definitely came towards later in the season, but I was really just focused on just being great, and the results were just shown.
I'd say it's hard to ignore the offers and the idea of that, though, because, so many of you guys, the goal is make an impact here, get to the next level. And, I have to imagine it's kind of like doing high school all over again. It's, making an impact, getting yourself noticed. But everything I've seen too is that a lot of the players that come through here have been all about the team and are really into the team. And the off season is when they try to get themselves recruited. So, even when it's amazing that today you guys can put yourselves out there on Twitter and Instagram, and it's a cool thing. I do like seeing it. I like being able to repost it when everybody gets their offers too. It's a great time, and it's cool to see it, happening live. But enough about me. So we get to week 6 of the season. You guys are 5-0, and you're going up against Lackawanna, one of our biggest rivals. They're in conference, and a team that's always at the top of the rankings every single year. unfortunately, this was our first loss of the season against them. 30-17 loss on our field, but Lackawanna ended up going on to the national championship game at the end of the season. Unfortunately for our region, losing that game, but still an incredible showing, and just goes to show what kind of team that we played right there. But I remember that game being a little bit more competitive than that score. So what do you remember from that game, and what did you guys take away from it?
Well, one of the first questions I asked Coach Card at Monroe the first week was, I was like, do we have a rival team? Like, who's our rival? And, Coach Card's like, Lackawanna. Like, we got to be Lackawanna. That's a game that it really hurt. It really hurt because I wanted that game a lot. Lackawanna is a great program. They got a lot of D1 cats on their team. But, it was a hard-fought game. And, we didn't put our heads down after that game. We kept pushing forward. And, shout out to Lackawanna. They played great, and so did we. But we just didn't come up on top for that game.
Yeah, it really is a great program. It's a great rivalry we get to see every single year. And I know Coach Karg is very good friends with their coach as well, who's one of the most well-known and well-respected coaches in JUCO history. So, one year these rankings are gonna flip, and we're gonna jump ahead of them, and it's gonna stay that way for a while. Monroe MustHangs is sponsored by the Monroe Mustangs Sideline Store, powered by our apparel partners at BSN Sports. Whether you're looking for t-shirts, hats, jackets, or accessories, the Monroe Mustangs Sideline Store has it all. Gear up with the new Monroe Mustangs logo and make it your own with hundreds of customizable options, including sports-specific designs. For the month of January, you could take 20% off all orders of $85 or more by using the promo code JAN21. That's JAN21. Visit MonroeCollegeMustangs.com/shop to look your best as you cheer on the Mustangs. Next week, you guys, I think, played angry, going to play against Hudson Valley on our home field again, and this one was never close, 53-0. So a good bounce back for you guys. And then we play a Sunday night game at ASA's field in Brooklyn, and while this one obviously did not go the way we wanted, I have to say it was really like one of the most competitive and like one of the most entertaining games I've seen since I got to Monroe. Again, unfortunately, it didn't go this way, but I know that one we fell behind quickly and just stormed all the way back in the second half, took the lead, and things just kept going back and forth. And in the end, they win the game 36-34. But it was really an incredible effort on both sides. Both teams were, again, nationally ranked teams and highly respected across the country. And for two New York teams to be up there is not really very common. So especially when you add in Nassau as well, for all those teams to be nationally recognized is really uncommon. But again, just a really competitive game. Unfortunately, a loss though. So what were the feelings after that one?
That one hurt because we really gave it all that game. Guys, the whole game. We played all 4 quarters, and it was like a shootout game. We were scoring, and we lost by that field goal. But after that, just got back to work. Like our guys are hungry. They're JUCO guys. It was hurt. It hurt.
Yeah, I understand. I made the trip out to Brooklyn. I was doing the stats of that game as well. And I remember just the whole time I was kind of feeling it with you guys, sitting in ASA's press box, having to hear, people who work for them, going crazy early in the game when we fell behind. And I got to go crazy myself when we were coming back. It was, again, like I said, it's unfortunate it was a loss, but it still ended up being a fun game. And, that's what you like to see that. You like to see the competitiveness, and it always makes the team hungrier for the next year. Obviously, again, you guys do what you do, bounce back, win by 62 points against Erie Community College, go on the road, win by 63 points at Hocken College, shut them out actually in that game. And, making a late season impact like that, really showing you guys really were a powerhouse, one of the highest scoring teams in the NJCAA this season. I think actually the number one highest scoring team in the NJCAA that season. You guys got the recognition you needed and got the invitation to the Salt City Bowl at Hutchinson Community College, where you guys were going to play the number 3 team in the country on their home turf, which is a very popular home turf because they host so many national championship tournaments. They host volleyball, they host men's basketball. I think they host track and field some years too. So it's a very well-known place among the JUCO community. So when you guys found out that you were getting that invitation to another bowl game and we're going to get that chance to go down to Kansas and make your biggest trip of the year and play in a really big game, especially a year where some of those bowl games didn't even happen because for whatever reason a bunch of other bowl games were canceled and you guys still got the invitation. What was it like finding out that you guys were going to get this opportunity?
Well, Coach Card, he called a team meeting, and we all met in the room, and then he told us. And I think everybody on the team was super excited and ready to go ball and get that experience to play one of the top JUCO programs in the nation. Hutchinson's known for having all the guys go to SEC programs, Big 12, Big 10, all those guys. So, just that whole experience going to Hutchinson, it was awesome. Just to play against one of the best players. To be the best, you got to play against the best. So that was exciting.
Yeah, and again, another one of those trips that I'm really glad I was able to make with you guys. I think just, an all-around good experience. You got to go in those salt mines, and I know just a fun thing for me is to hear the stories of some of the guys that are getting on a plane for the first time, and some of them, for some it's a thrill, for some it's terrifying. I'm not going to name any names, but everyone had their own travel experience that weekend, I think. But we get to game day. I know it was freezing cold out there, and just something we're used to that. It's our kind of weather playing in New York, and I got to have my own experiences up there in the press box, listening to their radio team and their stats people, and listening to the head officials and everything like that. I had my experience, but on the field, you guys, again, this was unfortunately another loss, but this was a game that I feel, again, was much more competitive than what the final score says. And I know you guys had a ton of impressive plays out there. The defense stepped up, the special team stepped up with some plays. I know early on in the game, you had a really long passing touchdown that just showed some really great touch on that ball down the left sideline. So just tell me about your experiences of that game, just going into it, your mindset, how you felt during it, how you felt after it.
And mindset going into that game, it's like you've got to come prepared. You don't have a choice. You got to be ready. You're playing a great team. You got to be focused. You got to be locked in. And I think each and every player on our team definitely was ready to play that game. And that whole game, we fought until the end. Our guys, like, that was one thing about our team that year. They didn't quit. They were always going to give it their all. And that touchdown pass that you were talking about, clean pocket, O-line, Lucas Nunez, he's fast. I love throwing to him and every other receiver. I think I threw to like 10 to 12 receivers each game. So it was just nice to have all that talent around me and, have all these accomplishments and make that experience to the bowl game and play Hutch. It's just a good experience overall.
I can tell you that sitting in the press box with a lot of those people who, they saw all the teams that Hutchinson played that year. They have a tough schedule every single year, and they play a lot of impressive teams. And the second that you stepped on the field, they were like, "Who is this guy? Wow, like, he just looks impressive." And then, throughout the game, there were a number of impressive throws and impressive runs. So I know you definitely made an impact there. And that's the end of the season there. So this is the point where you have the offers rolling in. You're kind of getting an idea of where you're going to go. When was it, and what helped you make the decision that to decide to commit to Charlotte?
Charlotte came later during the season, and our quarterback coach, he reached out to me via Twitter, and he liked my film. He liked who I was. He came up, visited me, and it was something about Charlotte just fit. Charlotte here, they're all about culture, and got to have the big, great attitude. And just, it's more than the game of football here at Charlotte. So I think Charlotte was a great fit for me. And it was just awesome. That whole recruiting, I'm glad the recruiting process is over. It's very stressful, but it's also fun at the same time. So it was a good time for sure.
I'm sure. And, what is it about going somewhere that's close to home? Is it, are you able to have family that gets to visit, friends that gets to visit you and see you playing games?
Oh, it's awesome. Being at home, you got the family support. They can always come to games. I don't think my mom, pops, brother, they haven't missed a game all my career since Little League Pop 1. So, that's great. Be home, closer for them, good drive. So it's nice to have all that support.
I'm sure it is. And, that's why it's always fun to talk to players who come to Monroe who are from out of state, because a lot of times, they had their whole life, family is always there for them for all their games. And this is the first experience being away from home. And, family having to watch from home or just follow the stats or whatever it is. So what was it like when you were at Monroe and you were away from home and not everyone could be there every single week?
I definitely had to adapt. My mom was sad going to New York, but I was like, this is a business trip for me. It's going to be best for my future. So I had to get it done. Everything in New York is just so close, though. Restaurants, there's movies, there's things to do out there, and it was a really good experience overall, especially with the people that I met and the relationships that I built. So, because everything was there. I didn't have my car in New York. There's no parking there, so that was probably one thing that I didn't like, not having my car, but I didn't really need it. So.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when you live here for a long time, you kind of get used to it. I mean, I live in the suburbs. I have a car myself, but I have a brother that lives in the city. He doesn't have a car. He's always walking everywhere, taking the trains everywhere. So I get the whole lifestyle of that too. And in New Rochelle, of course, you can do all the same things there. You're so close to the city, so it is pretty easy to get back and forth without that. Everything in New Rochelle is pretty close to other things. So a lot of good things you could do. But so you get Charlotte, and unfortunately, your first year is played through a pandemic. And this is something I've got to talk to basically all my guests on the show about this. In some way or another, they've been affected by COVID-19 and the pandemic that we've been dealing with since March over here. So again, your first year, you're dealing with your first regular season with Charlotte, I should say. You're dealing with the COVID protocols. Our game's going to happen. Our game's not going to happen. Even when you guys are able to play, are you going to play? Or you're not going to play today? Can you walk us through that first year and everything you kind of had to deal with? Dealing with COVID, trying to get on the field, making plays when you're on the field. What was year one like?
Well, when I got there, I went just straight to the film room. All the players were getting excited about to start spring ball. We got about 7 to 8 practices in for spring ball, and then coach calls us in. It was like, we got to cut it short with all the corona and COVID cases around, and that really hurt. It sucked a lot. We were going to have like 9 more practices, didn't get to have a spring game, and everything was just uncertain after we had to leave. Not being around, we didn't get to be together for summer. We came back, I think, July, August. We had to have like small group sessions, had to work out with like 5 people. We didn't get to build that team chemistry. And during the season, we still didn't have that direction of what we were going to do. Coach Healy, our head coach, he asked all the players. He was like, "Do you guys want to play football? Do you guys want to have a season?" We all are like, "Yes, sir." Like we want to ball. And going through the season, I think we got tested about 3 times a week, and that really sucked. Getting that long thing through your nose, but it was crazy to call it that. I think we played 6 games, and we had a lot of games canceled, about 7 or 8 games canceled too. So tough year. I hope 2021 is different.
What was it like having to go through that every single week, though? I know because we, unfortunately, up in New Rochelle, didn't get to have a 2020 season. Still hopeful that it'll happen in the spring of 2021, but just not getting to play in the fall, we didn't really get to see what it would be like going through a COVID season like that. And it was a big topic of conversation around the country: is how is college football going to work? It's really a topic of conversation with every sport, but college football obviously being the king of college sports. We saw plenty of conferences that were ready to cancel and then came back, and some other conferences that did cancel, and some that had half a season. So, what was it like not knowing if you were going to have a season, and then knowing you're going to have a season, and just knowing like this is how it's going to have to be every single week?
Well, when game week came around, we practiced. We're all getting pumped up to play our opponent, and we're preparing. We're watching film of the team we're going to play. We're practicing hard, and you get a Thursday or Friday, and it's like, oh, the game's canceled. And that really hurt a lot of our players, especially our seniors, who it's their last year. And, just every week it was just uncertainty. And you don't know if you're going to play. You don't know if you are going to play. And, it was just getting tested every week. it was a headache to call it that. And you really, now you think about it, you don't take anything for granted. You don't take having a team meeting together and not on Zoom for granted. You don't take being on practice on the field for granted. Like everything, just be thankful for and grateful for, because that COVID really just it opened up your eyes and really gave you a look.
So when you guys were able to play, you had a few opportunities during this year. You made a couple highlight plays. What did it feel like being on the field and, reaching a higher level and looking at whatever the crowd looked like for those games? And, what was it like just having those opportunities?
And it was awesome just being on the field here at Charlotte, the FBS level. It was awesome. The brotherhood that I built, the chemistry I built with these players here, it was awesome. The few plays I had, touchdown passes and the runs, it was awesome. Just a good feeling just to be back playing. I'm ready for 2021. It wasn't enough.
Of course not. It wasn't. I think all of us can agree it definitely wasn't enough this year. But one question I do have to get to when we're talking about Charlotte right now, and our compliance officer Sandy Rodriguez would probably be upset with me if I didn't ask this, was there's another former Monroe athlete that's at Charlotte as well, and that was Jerry Matos. Did you ever get to connect with him and hang out with him at all?
I definitely did. Sandy told me, she was like, there's a basketball player that committed to Charlotte who went to Monroe. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. And I definitely had to reach out to him. I've talked to him. He's playing really good here at Charlotte. He's a starter. He's been putting up numbers. And it's nice to know that you've got another player or friend, teammate here that went through the same JUCO struggle as you. And we are here together playing D1 sports. So that's awesome.
Yeah, Jerry actually had a very similar story to what you did, where he transferred into Monroe. He had one really good standout year, a nationally recognized athlete, and then, he took his opportunity after that. So I'm sure you guys had plenty you could discuss in regards to that. So obviously you keep saying you're really looking forward to what 2021 is going to bring. So what kind of things are you looking forward to in the next season?
I'm looking forward to just practicing, having the team meeting. I'm looking forward to just the face-to-face interaction with coaches, players, and just taking it day by day, just embracing the grind, embracing just everything. And I'm just hoping that somehow, some way, things will change. So we'll see.
Yeah, you and me both. I'm really hoping that the 2021-22 school year is going to look like a normal one. Hopefully everyone's vaccinated. This thing is behind us, and we can do things for real this time. Going back to your time at Monroe, you said there were a lot of resources there that helped you succeed. But what was one or maybe a couple favorite memories of yours from your time off the field at Monroe?
Off the field, I definitely enjoyed going to the city with my friends and my brothers. I call them my brothers now that I built that relationship. So, all the food we used to get, just enjoying that time away from the grind that we used to put in, all that work. It was nice going to the city. And it was my first time being in New York, so that was pretty cool too.
That was my next question was, if that was your first time in New York. So any other things about New York that really kind of stood out to you as someone who hadn't been there before, or some things that you knew you wanted to try that you got to do when you were here?
There's nothing. I just really wanted to go to the city. Like, I really wanted to experience that. I wanted to see the lights. I wanted to go to the chocolate store. I wanted to eat the New York pizza, Italian food. Like, it was just awesome to get that whole experience and just see it like face to face, eye to eye. And it was nice.
That's awesome. It's cool to hear that. I've one of the other student athletes I've interviewed on the show before is a women's soccer player who came here from Spain, and same thing was, while coming to America is cool, it's being in New York is a completely different experience. So, I'm sure it's the same when you're coming from out of state too, if you've never been here. For someone like me who's been here all my life, you kind of get used to it. But, it is cool to hear a lot of the stories about, athletes coming in from basically out of town and getting to experience it for the first time. And it doesn't sound like it really overwhelmed you either. So that's good too, because, a lot of people can be a little bit overwhelmed by New York. So, again, like we talked about the experience you had, choosing a college, deciding it wasn't for you, coming to Monroe College, and then, making the most of that opportunity. So if you were to speak to a young student athlete, maybe in the same situation like that, what are some advice you would give them?
Student athletes, I'd say pertaining to the JUCO life, I just say, make sure you have your academics right. Make sure you have your priorities. Make sure you're organized. Grades come first. Be a student first before be an athlete. It's called student athlete for a reason, for sure. And just work, just grind. Your work's gonna show. It's gonna pay off. So as long as you got your head on straight and you're focused, it should work out.
That's definitely what we always like to hear. Especially when you say student comes before athlete. I know at Monroe we're very proud of the academics that we've the academic accomplishments of our student athletes. The football team, when you were here, actually had one of its best academic years in the program's history. So something to definitely be proud of. I know Coach Karg is, and I know Coach Karg was very proud of you. He sang your praises when I interviewed him. When I was talking to him before and afterwards about you as well, he has so many good things to say. So I mean, he loves every player that comes through here, but not every day you come across somebody that actually, again, I ran off this entire list of records that you had. So not every day we have someone that's breaking records left and right. So we're going to wrap up here today, but Dom, I want to thank you so much for giving me the time today. Glad to have you on the show. It's good to see a face that, made such a big difference at Monroe and for Monroe. So if you want to tell everybody, where can they follow you on social media? I know you and your team have been posting a lot of really cool stuff, and I've really enjoyed watching it. So where can everyone find you on social media?
I'm big on Twitter and Instagram. So Twitter, it'll be D_Shoffner_10, and then Instagram D.Shoffner. So I'll follow back.
It's great. Everyone always likes that. For those of you watching and listening, you can subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/Monroe Mustangs. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. This is also on IGTV, on Instagram at Monroe Mustangs. So make sure you go follow us there. Give us a like. Tom, again, thank you so much. Stay safe down there. Make us proud next year again. And everyone else at home, thank you for hanging with us this week. See you next time. Again, everyone stay safe.